If you ask any F1 driver what team they've always wanted to race in, the majority would probably say Ferrari. However, this opportunity to race for the most dominant and important team in history of the sport does not come along very often, making the fact that a driver as young and relatively inexperienced as Charles Leclerc could drive for the Scuderia all the more impressive. Without further ado, let's take a look at the Monegasque's early career, what he went through, and how he evolved into the driver he is today on his way to F1 stardom. Charles grew up in Monaco, the home of the world's most famous Grand Prix, and says his first memory of the race is playing with toy cars at a friend's apartment on the exit of the first corner while watching the Grand Prix and dreaming of one day being there. Michael Schumacher's Ferrari was the car he fantasized about the most, and now, 20 years later, the dream has come true. Leclerc is driving his own F1 Ferrari and doing a rather good job of it. Hervé Leclerc, Charles' father, was a Formula 3 driver who introduced his son to karting at the age of 3.5, the nursery for nearly all F1 drivers. According to Leclerc, it was clear from that point forward what he wanted to do. They lived in Monaco, which is known as a rich man's playground, but according to Leclerc, they were not particularly wealthy. In 2011, I had to stop karting because my father did not have enough money for me to continue, and we did not have enough sponsors to help us. The then 14-year-old was able to continue his career because he was picked up by Nicolas Todd. The son of FIA president Jean Todt had amassed a sizable driver management stable, which included Leclerc's godfather, Jules Bianchi, who was racing in GP2, the step below F1, and as a Ferrari test driver. Leclerc followed Bianchi into the Ferrari Driver Academy, thanks to Todt. Bianchi was only 8 years older than Leclerc, more like an older brother, and was instrumental in mentoring the young driver during his karting formative years. Despite his motor racing background and stellar karting career, however, Leclerc admits that he began to consider his chances in F1 pretty late. I never told myself that I actually could arrive there. I just told myself to keep working and keep focusing on the present to try and improve what I could do now, and then I would probably have the opportunity to get there. When asked if Bianchi or his father told him that he had the talent, Leclerc replied, "Yeah, but I think they were saying a lot more, keep your feet on the ground and keep working." So yeah, in the end I think I took the other side and kept working and not thinking too much about Formula 1. I'm pretty sure it comes from them. I don't think I've ever been arrogant or anything like that, so it's also a bit natural. I honestly believe it's the way forward, but the fact they keep telling it to me, I think it has helped me. On the track, Leclerc transitioned to F1 as smoothly as possible, winning nearly everything along the way. However, he has had to deal with terrible darkness. He lost both Bianchi and his father while rising through the ranks. Bianchi was driving for Marussia in Formula 1 when he was involved in a crash during the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix. He passed away 9 months later. Despite the tragedy, Leclerc claims he had never considered retiring from motor racing. There was definitely no thoughts any time to stop my career because of that. From the beginning, when you get into the sport, you know how dangerous it is. It will never be a safe sport. Of course, the cars are getting safer and safer, but when you're going at 340 kilometers an hour, it can never be safe. This I knew from the start, and I just wanted then to be good for him because he had taught me many things. He's always pushed me forward and helped me to get better, and the only thought I had when this happened was just to do good for him, to make him proud. Then, in 2017, while Leclerc was racing in Formula 2, his father died on the eve of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Regarding that weekend, Leclerc stated, "I just asked myself what he wanted me to achieve on a weekend like this, and the answer came back pretty quickly, that he wanted me to win." So, he did, finishing first in both races, although a 10-second penalty in the sprint demoted him to second place. Leclerc says he got through it because of mental training he had been doing since the beginning of his career. It is always very difficult to put into words because it is not like physical training, where you lift weights and you can definitely see the difference when you're lifting more weight week after week. It is a little bit the same process, but the results, you don't see them as easily because it's about how you are feeling and how you're dealing with pressure, so it comes a lot more naturally. But I have a lot of tests to see more the results of it, and it's all about concentration and being calm in the tense moments, which is very important, being able to calm yourself as quickly as possible. F1 weekends are full of things, and any time that you have 5 minutes, you need to use it as well as possible to calm down. So all of these small details make a small difference in the end. Leclerc's dominant F2 season earned him a seat at Sauber in 2018, and after a shaky first 3 races, he turned a corner in Baku, finishing 6th. He never looked back after that. When Ferrari realized Sebastian Vettel would not win the Formula 1 championship that year, it was inevitable that attention would quickly quickly shift to what is needed to do differently to avoid another defeat in 2019. And with veteran driver and world champion Kimi Raikkonen trailing his German teammate by a significant margin, Leclerc was Ferrari's salvation. However, after a season in which driver errors played a significant role in determining the season's momentum, the Monegasque signing was met with some criticism, especially given that he was the team's least experienced driver since late 1977, when the legendary Gilles Villeneuve was signed. While Leclerc has clearly impressed at Sauber during a stellar rookie season, it was one thing to shine in a midfield team with few expectations, and another to pull on the prancing horse overalls and go wheel-to-wheel against Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. The pressure shift was enormous, and the intensity of fight at the front, where tenths of a second can mean the difference between becoming the Tifosi's darling or fighting to avoid being sacked, should not be underestimated. But on the eve of the 2018 Italian Grand Prix, Ferrari chose Leclerc over Kimi Raikkonen not because it had to, but because it wanted to. Leclerc's speed was obvious. The need to potentially shake up Ferrari's internal dynamic was real. And those concerns about Leclerc being too young, about a young man incapable of dealing with intense pressure and a risk of being burned out and discarded before reaching his peak, on that front, the team's management had already been put at ease. It is often said that an individual's qualities are discovered not when they are celebrating success, but when they must pick themselves up from adversity. In Leclerc's case, it was his ability to cope with his father's death in 2017 that proved a defining moment in convincing Ferrari that he had what it took to deal with the pressure of racing for the prancing horse. Maurizio Arrivabene, the team's then manager, recalls meeting him on a Ferrari charter flight to Baku that week and how the youngster's demeanor there convinced him of his star potential. I asked him how he was after losing his father a few days ago. He replied that he wanted to win the race and then go home for the funeral. That is exactly what he did. If a guy can handle these moments, I don't think he'll have problems adjusting to the pressure of F1. Since then, Leclerc has established himself as a force to be reckoned with, learning many lessons along the way to his peak form in 2022, taking on the likes of Max Verstappen for a chance at his first World Championship title. Only time will tell where Leclerc's career will go, but if his past is any indication, red is back in style. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. See you next time.